Scrubs is hands down my favorite show that has ever been put on television. Now, I think most of you know the basic concept of the show. It's basically a comedy about a hospital, but let's think about this. The setting is a hospital, isn't it? You're going to run into some sad moments, and that's where Scrubs really took its toll. It was labeled as a comedy, but it really, really took some chances with a few of these scenes that I'm about to show you. So without further ado, get your tissues and anything else you use to wipe away your tears. This is the top 10 saddest moments in Scrubs. Elaine's song from My Philosophy. This is what she describes death like before her actual death occurs in the episode. But let's take a look at a small snippet of this.
I'll keep checking the horizon. I'll stand on the bow, feel the waves come crashing
down, down, down on me. And you say, be still, my love.
Open up your heart, let the light shine in. Don't you understand? I already have a plan. I'm waiting for my real life to begin.
It's a little heartwarming to watch the rest of the cast join in on this. JD avoiding Dr. Cox from My Fallen Idol. Now, anybody who knows the show know about JD and Cox's love-hate relationship, and in this instance, it's actually pretty heartbreaking because the entire episode, JD tries to reason with others and with himself that he doesn't want to go talk to Dr. Cox because he showed up to work drunk one day. Until finally Turk knocks a little bit of sense into him, and ultimately JD is the one who pulls Dr. Cox out of his depression.
Maybe he just needed to be able to say this.
You don't drink scotch.
That's awful.
Turk's confession from My Way Home. Now in this scene, Turk is telling a man that the surgical staff is being quote-unquote relentless about his son's heart because
whichever one of us convinces you to pull the plug and donate his heart gets to assist in the transplant.
And I like the scene because the message it's sending is a really, really strong message. And the message I get out of it is that even though the truth hurts sometimes it's just best to come clean. They had a whole number about it in the musical episode, remember? JD's epiphany from My Cold Shower. This scene happens immediately after he watches Elliot get proposed to by Keith. Now, anybody who knows even a little about the show will know about the weird romance that JD and Elliot have going on, but when you know how emotionally connected he is to Elliot and having to sit through him watch this stunning turn of events, oh my god, I feel so bad for him. And take a look at a few of the scenes earlier in this episode.
When you're in a dry spell, sometimes you have to get wet.
Great Aunt Judy!
Doesn't matter if you're married, if you're all talk but no action, or you have a bad internet connection.
Now watch this last one.
As I looked at all the relationships, I realized something. It should have been me.
Poor guy. Mrs. Wilkes' death from My Five Stages. Now I know that a death occurring in a hospital and a show about a hospital really shouldn't surprise me, but here's the thing. They establish her as a character several episodes earlier. She's very likable, she's very interesting, and she even at one point teaches Turk how to dance. I mean, that's a pretty awesome character. So she doesn't come in and suddenly she's dead and there you go, you move on. We actually kind of feel some of the guilt that JD and Dr. Cox have to go through. Not only that, but they're also dealing with this really annoying grief counselor, played by Dave Foley. But still, when you have a character that's this well established, it's a really sad thing when you see them go.
That kid is eventually gonna die.
Nick's meltdown from My Super Ego. Nick, played by Sean Hayes, is doing everything that he can as a doctor to keep a 7-year-old terminally ill child alive, and every time a new problem presents itself, it always seems that he has the
Blood
solution.
cultures don't look
That
good at
is
all.
until this
No
happens.
problem.
We're just looking for you.
Nick, touch my butt, please. Hey, all right?
That kid is eventually gonna die. Whether it's today or tomorrow or a month from now. There's nothing I can do. Nothing works. Now his parents want to talk to me. What am I supposed to tell them? Peter lived a good long 7 years? 7 years, man.
And then JD and Elliot find him next to the staircase, and then...
I hate this job. I can't do it anymore. I'm done. I'm done.
Laverne's death from My Long Goodbye. Now, this one is kind of similar to Miss Wilkes' death in that Laverne was a very established character, but on top of that, she was also part of the nursing staff, and not only that, she was also Carla's best friend. And the cherry on top of this sadness sundae is that she actually gets in a wreck right after she explodes at Dr. Cox for stating what she's had to witness as long as she's been a nurse. So when this final scene, you can bet I was a little teary-eyed. Dr. Cox's meltdown from My Lunch. This is hands down Dr. Cox at his scariest. But this scene happens right after we find out that Dr. Cox is responsible for 2 other patients' deaths, and then he is seemingly inconsolable, where JD tries to talk to him and pull him out of it, but unfortunately, he is responsible for 1 more death, and it seemingly goes downhill from there. And I'll just admit, I was scared for him when I first saw this episode. Oh yeah, it was that powerful. Mrs. Tanner's death from My Old Lady. What really makes this one stick out for me is this. Unlike Laverne and Mrs. Wilkes, who were recurring characters, Mrs. Tanner is only in this one episode, and boy do they give her a fantastic personality. She's like the kindly old lady that most of us can relate with, much like any of our grandmothers. Which, wouldn't you know it, she also happens to be a grandmother. But we would learn later when JD is futilely trying to persuade her to keep her life going that she has done just about everything anybody has ever wanted to do. So, why is JD trying to convince her to stay alive?
I'm scared.
Come here. Come here. Come here. You're okay.
Any true fan of the show already knows what number 1 is, but for those of you who don't know, just watch. Ben's funeral from My Screw Up. I can easily pick this as the saddest moment in Scrubs history, not only because of how short it is, but take a look at this shot right here. And if you think a scene that's this short wouldn't leave that much of an impact, think again. Isn't that absolutely gut-wrenching? I mean, that's the reason why I like this show so much. It's not just a comedy for the sake of being a comedy. It actually tackles real-life events. And a show about a hospital, death is a fairly common thing. But when they explore it to this kind of potential, oh my god, does it leave an impact. Well, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.